Hey guys, this is Mihai from Bar Reviews, and today we're going to review a movie that I've seen over a decade ago, which is Cocktail. I've seen this movie more than 10 years ago when I first entered in the hospitality industry. As you probably know, when you are new to the industry and you see a movie like Cocktail, you are mesmerized by the things that are happening in the movie, all the flashy things, the moves, the girls, the atmosphere, and like in my case, you want to be a flair bartender. After over a decade, I decided to rewatch this movie, and here are 10 reasons why I think you should do that too. The movie starts with young Brian Flanagan, who just got home from the army. He's very hungry, he wants to make his mark out on the world, and he's determined to make $1 million. This is pretty common to bartenders. They join this industry just to bear ends meet. They don't see it as a career, and as the movie unfolds, Brian takes this trajectory from the bartender who wanted to win a lot of money to a bartender that has a career from this industry. Unknowing what to do with his life, he goes and asks for advice from his uncle Pat, who has a bar, and there is an interesting scene there where his uncle Pat makes him to pay for his beer, and young Brian Flanagan, he could not believe that his own uncle will make him pay for his beer.
So what are you gonna do now?
Make $1 million?
Well, in the meantime, I'll ask McDougal to give you a job while you're waiting.
No way! Well, I'm gonna make things happen for me.
Sure you will. That'll be $1 for the beer.
What? Your nephew comes home from serving his country, and he doesn't even rate a beer on the house?
Well, you don't get rich giving things away.
I can totally relate to that, because as bartenders, we always tend to give free drinks to our guests, to our friends, to our colleagues, to our family, etc. But is there a smarter way to do that? Are those products in our property so that we can be entitled to give them away? Actually, Angus Winchester has a very nice bit about it, and I definitely think that you should check it out. Later in the movie, he goes and looks for a job where he meets for the first time Doug Cochran, who becomes his mentor, sort of. They have an interview there where young Brian Flanagan gets very cocky. He tells Doug that he has experience, that he can manage to work in this business, and in his first day, he's a wreck. No, he's a total wreck.
Ever work behind the bar?
My uncle's in the business.
You know how to make a red eye, Mr. What's your name?
Brian Flanagan. No, I'm sorry I haven't had the pleasure as yet.
What about a vodka martini with a Pernod float?
I'm a fast learner.
To throw a 400-pound psychopath out of a bar?
Guess I could if I had to.
What about a 100-pound ballerina that's been speeding for 3 days?
Just open the door and let her pirouette out in the street?
What do we learn from this is that if you're in a position to hire somebody, I think it is recommended that you show him or her the ropes first, and then let him or her actually do the work and not the other way around. The second thing is that as bartenders at interviews, we tend to exaggerate and make things bigger, and I think that is not a very good way to do that. I think it is way better to be honest and always, and I mean always, be prepared. When he starts to get lessons from Doug, he tells him something that I think is essential to the bar world, and that is less is more, because as bartenders we tend to over exaggerate things.
The essential technique of bartending.
Less
Is more. The less you pour, the more you score. The boss does better. We do better.
Another thing that he says, and here I do not agree with him, is that the house always wins and the customer always loses. Well, I think there are multiple ways in which everyone can win: the house, the team, and our guests. What I do like about Brian Flanagan is that he's very confident in himself. He wants to be a millionaire. He really believes in himself and in his idea. Actually, he has written on his palm millionaire. I think this is a very good mindset to have. I think there is an famous saying that it goes something like this: if you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And I think this is a very clever way to deal with things.
Brian Flanagan, Senator Brian Flanagan, billionaire governor Brian Flanagan, whose self-propelled meteoric rise to wealth and fame would have made even J.D. Rockefeller envious.
What happens if you fail? You just have to try harder, and that's it. Did you know that for this role, Tom Cruise was trained by a bartender? John Band is considered to be the early grandfather of flair bartending, and in that time he was working at TJ Fridays when he started to play with glassware and bar tools. His involvement with this movie was pure accidental, but that led to 10 years of constant traveling around the globe and doing various shows and gigs for various brands. When he's getting the hang of it, we can see young Brian Flanagan behind the bar trying various moves, and I do not agree with this because I think behind the bar, we as bartenders, we just need to perform. We just need to show our guests what we do know and what we can control. When it comes to learning new moves and practicing, I think that it is better to do it in our free time in a separate area. Remember, behind the bar, you show people what you know how to do and not what you are learning or trying to do. When they are working together in the bar, there is a very nice line where Doug tells Brian, "Hey, relax, you are in the perfect job." And I agree with that because we tend to look for something else when one of the most rewarding careers that we can have is that of a bartender.
I've got to find something to do.
Relax, you're in the perfect job. There's no better way to make it than behind 3 feet of mahogany. Within 1 square mile of this saloon lies the greatest concentration of wealth in the world.
Yes.
You know the scene where the famous scene hippie shake? Well, something else caught my eye. It was the fact that even though it was 1986, they were working on professional bar stations. This is very important because we are in 2021 and there are not so many bars around the world where they have this kind of equipment. I don't know how it is in our country, but in Romania there are very few cocktail bars that have an actually working cocktail station. I think that this is something we should look into very seriously. In the scene where he's working in Jamaica, there is one lady that is coming to his bar and asks for help because she has a friend that had a bit of alcohol and she's not feeling so well. And the first thing that Brian does is goes over the bar and runs to her friend and checks her out and then calls an ambulance.
My friend just passed out on the beach over there. Do you have a phone anywhere?
No. Excuse me.
She was drinking champagne in the sun.
Champagne. Perfume going in, sewage coming out.
Is she gonna be all right?
Yeah, she's gonna be okay. Could somebody go down to the condo office and have them call an ambulance?
Yeah, sure.
Just in case.
Our job as bartenders is to look over our guests, and if that is not through bartending or through hospitality, I don't know what is. At the end of the movie where he has his last talk with Doug, he tells him he is going down. Even though he had managed to open a very successful establishment that generates over $100,000 per week, he's going bankrupt.
Should have read some of your sacred books, young Flanagan. The only thing I know about saloons is how to pour whiskey and run my mouth off. I knew nothing about insurance, or sales tax, or the building code, or labor costs, or the power company, or purchasing, or linens. Everyone with a hand stuck it in my pocket.
Well, even though you are just a bartender, I think you should know all the mechanics involving running a business in the hospitality industry. We all want to open our places one day, but are we truly ready? This is it, guys. This was my rant about this movie Cocktails, which you probably know has not won many accolades. On the contrary, he was nominated at worst scenario and so on. But you know what? This is a movie with great significance for us bartenders, because after watching this movie, a lot of bartenders from around the world decided to pursue a career in the hospitality industry. One of these bartenders is Luca Valentin, which I'm lucky enough to call him my friend. But do you know where he is at now? Well, let me tell you. 3 times world beer champion, over 1,000 bar shows around the world, trained hundreds and hundreds of bartenders worldwide. And this is just by watching a movie. Not too shabby, huh? Well, I think this is a great opportunity, and what better way to end this episode if not with some words from Luca Valentin himself about this movie and how it changed his life. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Luca Valentin.
Cocktail movie with Tom Cruise and Brian Brown. Oh my god, what a movie. I remember I saw it in 2005 or 2006, but I think 2005, and changed my life and my career, because after I saw it, was on Pro TV, Romanian TV station. I was starting to search after bartending schools in Romania, and I found one in Bucharest. But yeah, everything starts from there. I was imagining myself throwing bottles behind the bar like Tom Cruise. Yeah, I'm happy that I saw in the right moment the right movie that changed my career.